you?
Hi, Lory. Good, thank you. And yourself?
Welcome to the online Artfest chat. I'm Lory MacDonald, and I have here with me Kim from Aurora Light Sculptures. And happy to have you here. We have a great product, I could call product, but handcrafted piece, and very unique. When I first saw your images, I'm like, wow, what are these? You know, I've never seen anything like them. I love there's so many things I love about them. So tell me about how your product came about, because it is very, very unique and distinct. It's not like it has its own category. I don't even know how to, you describe it. This all come about.
Light sculptures are, there's a couple different ways that you can make them, but I do two different styles. So if you see this one right here, you're just seeing a glowing orb right now. That's 10 layers of tissue paper right there, versus this kind right here, that's 2 layers of rice paper with a specialty paper on top. So depending on what type of paper that you use, it's going to determine on how many layers. So what you do is you find your piece of either antler or driftwood. On this one, I tend to keep things very natural and use the driftwood. So then you put a frame of reed on top, and then you have layers and layers of tissue paper with a glue mixture holding it down and solidifying it. If you remember the old days when people used Mod Podge, it's the same idea, except this is a special glue that doesn't yellow. It's also a special paper that won't go brittle. It's an acid free. Oh. And I pH balance my own glue so that it won't go brittle over time, and it'll last generations, and it won't yellow.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, that's a big part. That's something I wouldn't even thought of, but you're right. I look back some of that, you know, the things that I created with Mod Podge a long time ago. They didn't last, but that's, yeah. And you know, you have such a natural look to it. Like the paper looks just, I don't know, maybe it's just my own preference. I like that kind of natural look. And then there was the driftwood and the antlers. So where do you find all that driftwood and the antlers? Like, where do you find that stuff?
The antlers were gifted to us. We live way up north. So I'm 45 minutes northeast of North Bay.
Oh.
So from Toronto, I'm probably about 4 hours north. So there's a lot of fishing and hunting up here. We do a lot of fishing, so that's where the driftwood comes from. I'll make him stop. He gets a little huffy, but when I sell a piece, he's like, okay, let's go get some more driftwood. But so we do a lot of hunting, a lot of camping when we're out fishing. So that's where I do my best work, because I'm very inspired by the nature that's around me. So I'll sit in the camper, he'll go off fishing, and I'll sit in the camper and I'll create. And it is, because I'm surrounded, I hear the Tweety birds, I don't hear lawnmowers, I don't hear car horns. It's so inspiring.
Oh,
so that's where I think I bring that organicness into it. The lighting from it is very calming and serene. It's not really what you're seeing here. It's more like what you're seeing in this poster here. It's a very ambient light. And that's what I want. I want a Zen feel to these light sculptures. I don't want something bold.
Yeah, so you've really created like not like a natural experience. Like it's a visual, but I understand now. Like it's the lighting too. It's soft. It's relaxing. It's calming. It's like being out in nature, and your pieces they just resonate that, I think. And
Thank you.
So I didn't realize though that you actually are able to take your work and work outside, right in nature. And I mean, that's wonderful. And that's great stories too. You can say, oh, I created this one up in Thunder Bay or out at Lake, whatever. Yeah, it's a nice piece of it.
So this one here, right behind me, there's an orb right there, and then you have the tendrils on the other side. So that one I created in the camper because it was too foggy outside. It was an early morning. He was out fishing. So this one's called Dawn's Embrace. So you see how the tendrils are kind of hugging you? The fog was so thick that morning. That's how I wanted it to feel. You know, the fog was hugging you. And so Dawn's Embrace was born.
Oh, beautiful. So you're using natural elements, but you also have some structural pieces. Is that like, is that wire in behind?
It's called reed. It's called reed. I don't know what kind of wood it's made from, but it's I get it in rolls, and it's a Canadian product. I don't know where she gets it from. I buy it from a lady in Canada, in Ontario, because I like to support Canadian. So she's nice and close. She's around. I want to say she's in Barry's Bay. I think that's where she's from, somewhere around there, between Huntsville and Ottawa. So you have to drill into the driftwood or antler and place the reed, and then you have to play with it to get the right orientation of the reed itself before you layer. Because once you start layering, you're kind of stuck with that form.
Right. Yeah, and one thing I always find fascinating is I'm a painter myself, so I work on a two-dimensional surface. And I've attempted doing sculpture, but I find it really challenging to be able to think and visualize things in 3 dimensions. How did you be able to do that? How do you be able to do that?
I've always been artistic. This is a new art form to me. For me, what I do is I just keep turning it. If I don't like it, I move it. I play with the reed before I drill, and because you cut the reed to certain lengths, so you can play with it a little bit, and you can brace it in certain ways so that if you want a little more twist to it or something, then you can move it a little bit. But you just have to keep moving it and keep turning it. One of those lazy Susan things that go around would be perfect, but I don't have the space in the camper for that.
Right. Yeah. So you're fairly new onto the art and craft scene, world, shows, traveling, and everything. So, what have you found that experience to be living full time as an artist now? Whereas before I don't think you were working. So I don't forget where you work now, but you can tell where you did work. But yeah. So how do you find living full time and working as an artist?
That was a huge learning curve. Going from environmental science to arts, back to arts, I guess I should say, because my first diploma was fashion design. So it was wow. It was, and now I look at it and I can't wait to get back into my booth to talk to people. It's been a very interesting ride. I wouldn't change it for the world. Some of the artisans that you meet and the customers that you meet, you make some very lasting relationships. It's fun. It's amazing. I wouldn't change it for sure.
Yeah, that's great. It's a very rich life. I mean, it's not an easy life, but it has, lots of rewards and challenges, as we know as artists and exhibitors and shows. I mean, we're dealing with the elements and all the other things, but when you're outside anyway, and then all kinds of other stuff, and especially in Canada where the weather changes every 5 minutes, right?
Yep. You got to be prepared for all seasons in Canada.
So I could see, I mean, you say you had the fashion design piece. And your pieces almost do look like clothing in a way. Like they look like, I mean, I know they're not clothing, but they have kind of costume or shapes. I mean, that's even like they look like kind of capes and, fancy hats. And
Yeah.
I can see how that ties in.
There's no hard lines. I like the flow and the organicness of it. It's a very fluid art. And there's not many of us in Canada that do it. As far as I can tell, I'm the 6th one in Canada that's doing it.
Okay.
So it's not widely I think people don't like to do this type of art. They want to try it, but they won't do it from a sales perspective. Sorry, tongue tied.
Well, it's very labor intensive, right? I mean, we've had this conversation at some of the shows. I mean, your work is very labor intensive. So if you start to think, okay, what am I going to get paid per hour or whatever, you can't think that way when you're doing what you're doing. It's, there's a ceiling of what people can, pay really, or what they can afford.
Right. And it is a very time consuming art. So it's not something that I can, yeah, you'd love to be able to charge what it's worth, but you can't. You have to charge, because then it's not attainable to the average person.
Mm.
It's more rewarding than it is fruitful. How's that?
Well, one thing I think we should just address too is, I mean, these are made of paper. How durable are they? This is one thing that I remember when looking at them. I say, well, I'm going to pay this, but how durable are they? Are they, because they're made of paper? Just just address that and help our viewers.
They're very durable. I can take a light sculpture. I have a sample, and I show people. I can pishnut it like this. I don't do it to the light sculptures because somebody's going to buy that, and I don't want to disrespect that. And I can take a damp paper towel and I can wipe them down if one of the passerbys has a little child and has popsicle fingers and they touched it. I can wipe it down, no problem. The battery powered ones, I can put a treatment on the battery powered ones, and it's good for your deck outside.
Really?
Yeah.
That's amazing. So I mean,
the battery powered ones give off a different light though, because they're tiny little LED lights instead of a bulb.
Right. Yeah. So I guess I mean, paper is made of trees, which is strong to start with. That's like a great fiber, and I guess when you add the glue to it, that transforms it into a whole other product, really, doesn't it?
That's right. And there's 10 layers. I mean, you put 10 layers of tissue paper together and it's fairly strong, but that glue in between makes it even stronger.
Oh, yeah.
But that's why I do put 10 layers though, so that it will last. If the wind knocks it down off the table or something, it's not going to break.
Yeah. Well, they're so pretty. They're just lovely. I mean, I know in my living room, they would just they sit so beautifully with all the natural colors and, mixed with all the other art and paintings and things. So what's next on the horizon for Aurora Light Sculptures then?
Right now I'm taking this time to do a lot of the honey-do list around the house. So we are doing a lot of fishing, a lot of camping. I've collected quite a few pieces and I plan on making quite a bit over the next month and a half or so. I start teaching again in September. So after September, my time is very limited. But it's going to be very fun process creating. I have a few different ideas of different things that I want to do with mirrors. And driftwood. Not really the light sculpture idea, but it offers somebody a different price point. Kind of like the little trees do way down right down here, the little driftwood trees with the lights, but with driftwood and mirrors. And I'd like to put a little light in there too. So we'll see what I can come up with.
Yeah, it'll be a nice compliment to your product line for sure. So you teaching, you run workshops for lamps, don't you? Is that what you?
That's right. This kind right here. So that's the rice paper kind. I can't teach you the tissue paper kind because I'd literally have to move in. But this kind we can get done anywhere from, if it's a one-on-one, we can get them done in about 2.5 hours. I've had them last up to 6 hours. So this is, so the workshop itself, right now they're all online. People choose the paper that they want and all the embellishments. I send it to them, and we do either Facebook, video chat, Zoom, or Skype, and we spend some time together and we create.
Oh, wonderful. So it's like a kit. You send them the materials and then you lead them through the project.
That's right. And I make the one with them so that I can say, okay, now you're going to put your posts here and blah, blah, blah. It's fun.
Yeah, that's great.
A group together and they all know each other. You have a couple glasses of wine. It's a good time.
Oh, that's a great idea. And what about, are you selling your work online right now?
Yes, quite a few places. Of course, we're all on Facebook. I have my own webpage, AuroraLightSculptures.com. I've been part of a few different online events, and I'm looking forward to Artfest coming up.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm concentrating more on the classes right now than selling the light sculptures. I find for my light sculptures, people really like to see them in person. So I've been doing more virtual tours of the light sculpture itself, and it helps people because you had mentioned that 3D aspect to it. You get to see it from all sides that way.
Yeah. So how do people book a class with you then if they wanted to do a project?
You can contact me, Aurora Sculptures at gmail.com, through my Facebook, Aurora Light Sculptures. I'm also the page associated with it is Aurora Kim. You can contact me through any of the Facebook or emails. There's a contact me through my webpage also, and you can get in touch with me and we'll go through the process together and figure out what kind of papers you would like, and we go from there.
Easy peasy.
Yep.
Great. Well, thanks so much for coming on and doing this interview. It's been great to chat with you. And you have such a unique product, and it's hard to for people to understand it. Thanks for giving us the insights on it. And we'll look forward to seeing you back at the show soon at the other Artfest events. Thanks so much, Kim. Take care.
Thank you, Lory. Nice seeing you.
Bye.
Bye.
Here we go. So these are works in progress.
Yes. So our last camping trip, I started 2 of them. So when I have a piece of driftwood, what I start with is the electrical. So I've got my electrical coming through there, right here. And then I start with the frame of reed. And this one, I'm not sure what I'm going to call it yet, but so this is 4 layers of tissue paper. So it's not quite as durable, but you can see it's still quite hard. And this one here, we were out in the boat that day and there was barely a cloud in the sky. All that was there, so you see this blue sky and little wisps of cloud. I don't know, there was some kind of air current going on. It was really cool. So that's what this one's going to be. And then there's going to be another, this one will be a battery powered one. Once I get these 2 done, then something else is going to come down here to cover this space. So it's going to be very wispy. And it's going to be like several of my other lights, the triple or sometimes double duty, where they can go on the ceiling, the wall, or the table. Oh. So that's what that's going to be. And I'm going to call it wisp also. So
beautiful. Well, it reminds me of birds' wings, you know, and the air and flying and the clouds. It's beautiful. Yeah, I can see your inspiration there.
Thank you.
That's great. Yeah, thanks. That, and also it gives us a chance to see what they really look like. It's hard with the light in the background when you're glowing, you can't really see the detail, but now we can see those pieces back there have all those details in them as well with all the.
Yeah, back here they're overexposed. You can see it much better in the poster than here, but that's what the cameras tend to focus on is the light, and it makes it overexposed, unfortunately.
Yeah. Okay.
From Aurora Light Sculptures. I just wanted to invite you into my living room. I've set up my hard walls since we don't get to see each other this summer in all the different events. I'm bringing my lights to you guys. So this is a poster that SMD made up for me. He is also the same guy that did my website. So over here, we've got something cool. I didn't get to show a lot of people. I do a lot of fishing, and when my dad passed, I got all this fishing equipment, and I used this fish hook so much that I wore the paint off of it. Since my dad was artistic as well, now he gets to come to all the events with me, and I'm sure you'd really love that. Here, this one's called Woodland Grace. That's a small bull moose antler. And this one here is the Morin effect. That's triple duty. That one can also go on the wall as well as the ceiling. Down here we've got Northern Lights. And this one here is a handmade paper, handmade recycled paper with flower petals that are in between the layers. And this one here is called Groovy. Up here we've got Into One because I've attached two pieces of driftwood together, and as well as the colored tissue paper that is on top, I find kind of looks like veins, so I'm showing that everything in nature is interconnected, and we must be kind to it. This one here is a pendant lighting, so that is City Lights. Now that's a colored tissue paper as well, and if I bring you in nice and close, you can see those are little silver flecks in there. So this silver flecks represent the city lights of Toronto when I was visiting there this summer. This one here is called Dawn's Embrace. It's made to represent all the fog that was surrounding us that morning. That was also created at Lake Morin. So the fog was so extremely thick that morning that it was just felt like it was hugging us. It was pretty amazing. This one here, that's called Snowdrift. It's got a really cool piece of driftwood in there. And this is a piece of granite. It's called Mari Blue Granite. Doesn't show up well in the video, but it's got a really deep, deep green in it. Down here, that is a cork fabric. Over here, that's Dream Team. This one here is Heartwood. Heartwood is a battery-powered one, and all the battery-powered ones I can treat for outside, so this one can go on your deck. It is water repellent and UV resistant. This little cutie is Renewed. Just finished that one up. I also do the little driftwood trees. I have different colored lights as well. True North doesn't get more Canadian than beaver sticks and birch trees. This one here is Tresses. That also lives in North Bay. This one is called Drift Away. Got a nice little piece of driftwood there. Almost looks like a turtle. There we go. Welcome to my living room, guys, and my booth. So, stay home, stay safe, and stay healthy. Until we meet again.